Welcome, one and all, to episode 199 of the Hoots Podcast, right here on whatever device you happen to be listening to this particular podcast. Now, you may be wondering, wait a minute, this is not Josh Lopez that is hosting the show this week. Have I turned into the wrong thing? Is this the Owl Podcast as opposed to the Hoots Podcast? Like, what is happening? Have I turned into the wrong podcast by mistake? No, you have not. This is, in fact, the Hoots Podcast. But this week, it is being hosted by yours truly, the one, the only, the Director of Operations, Brother Carter himself, Derek Stoughton, making his return. And honestly, normally at this point, I would say the Director of Operations has to come in and, really make sure that everything's, make sure that everything's going. Sometimes when things aren't going well,
right,
operations has to come in and make sure that everything's good. But in fact, because things have been going so well, and because the podcast at Hoots has been on such an upward trajectory, I figured it was a perfect time for myself to come in and to make sure that everything was going and just to try to enhance the program and everything. That's not true at all. My wonderful partner and brother in crime has asked me to be the special guest host this week, and I'm thrilled to do it and to be here with all of you. So before we begin, just our normal plugs. Again, make sure that if you're listening to this and you really like this program, please give it a 5-star review. That just helps us move up the channels and to make sure that we're able to reach more people. And if we're able to reach more people, we're able to bring increase the content. So please give us a 5-star review. That helps us out a lot. Also, you can check us out wherever you get your podcasts. You can check us on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Stitcher, Spotify, all the normal places. Just search the Hoots Podcast. You can find us there. My guest this week, and you've got to bring in you got to bring in the special people. My guest this week is the founder, the owner, the creative genius behind the Hoots Podcast. He is your friend and mine, the one and only Brother Adam, Josh Lopez. Josh, what's going on, my man?
Yes. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the show. Little different vibe as you're expecting 2 minutes into this podcast. I was thinking about this because we're in the final pit stop before we reach 200 episodes. Wow. And I wanted to switch things up. I actually had this idea 3 weeks ago because I knew that you wanted to be part either the one before WrestleMania or the one after. And to kind of switch things up and have you be part of the show because the Hoots Podcast in general, and I'll have a lot more time, honestly, next week to just reflect and put in this show in the perfect, what do you say? This is a perfect blend of sense of what this show is meant to me in general. But, the Hoots Podcast is not just Josh Lopez. This show is you, Brother Carter. It's Adam, the guy who I started the show with. It's Matt. It's B-Rob. It's Ant Stefano. I remember we did that big interview when Ant decided to stop doing wrestling podcasts. There's just a lot of things that intertwine to what this show represents. I got the name of the show off of Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows, where they call themselves Hoots from their Talking Shop podcast. You could look at his paper why would you call your show Hoots Podcast? Yet it's about wrestling. So are you into owls? Are you what's the deal here? No, it's a wrestling reference to a brotherhood, basically. That's what the Hoots Podcast is. So, my name is behind everything that goes on to the show, but it's not my show. It's our show. So I'm actually humbled for the fact that you wanted to be a host for the show because we've done shows together where you were the host of the show.
Yeah.
With Wrestling Warm Up and Universal Chatter, or the Chatter of the Universe, if you will.
Those were good times, man. Those were good times.
Very good times. So, man, I'm grateful to be here. We're going to have a fun show for you guys as always. And let's get this bad boy going.
Absolutely. Now, before we get into the wrestling talk, because, we are leading into perhaps without a doubt, the most unique WrestleMania in history. It's going to be a strange WrestleMania. There's no question about it. But before we get into all that, Josh, I hope you don't mind. As we get into the 200th episode, and what a wonderful milestone, and congratulations. And we'll talk more next week about all your accomplishments. But I wanted to take this opportunity as we're getting into this big milestone. You and I were talking about this. The people don't know a lot about you. They know what you do. They know that you are obviously a brilliant wrestling analyst and a wonderful transcriber. By the way, check out ProWrestlingTranscriptions.com. Fantastic website run by Josh. Definitely check that out. If you ever miss a show, need to know what happened, Josh will tell you exactly what happened. So check it out. It's wonderful. But Josh, I want to give you an opportunity to tell the people about yourself and kind of where you come from and all that kind of good stuff. So let's start. And then we're going to go right from the very, very beginning. So tell us about your childhood. Tell us where you're from. Just the beginnings of the authentic product that is Josh Lopez. So let's start from the beginning. So where are you from? Where are you born and raised? All that good stuff.
The nefarious brother Adam was born and raised in Chicago, Illinois. I don't live this as a gimmick, being the CM Punk fan. I was actually born in the west side of Chicago, Illinois, literally in the city parts. For the suburbs, usually the north and the south side of Chicago. I was literally right around the United Center, or we used to call it the Chicago Stadium. So I come from a Puerto Rican and Italian family structure. I first started getting to watching professional wrestling when I was 4 years old. So this is 1998. Mm-hmm. And, I've mentioned the story before on the podcast, but like JR is the reason why I got into wrestling in the first place. It's not The Undertaker. It's not Stone Cold Steve Austin. It's not wrestlers. It's just the energy that came off the screen to me, and having this guy with a black hat on and just losing his mind. And I was like, man, that's what I want to do. A lot of things came in my way, just as life goes, growing up as a kid. I was actually partially born with hearing issues. So I had tubes down my ears for the early stages of my life. I had to attend special ed classes for like the first half of my elementary school years, which was an interesting experience to say the least. I think I've grown a lot, just humanly a lot. I think I've evolved in more of a normal state in these last 20 years or so. Sometimes I became part of my childhood, but nonetheless, I was fortunate to be born in a music family. My grandpa from my mom's side owns a guitar shop here in Chicago called Tommy's Guitar in Trading Post. It used to be a restaurant too. It was a guitar shop and a restaurant. This was pretty cool. And then my Aunt Berta, she ran the choir at my family's church, Holy Rosary Church. So I have a family of musicians. I learned how to play guitar from my grandpa right when I was 7 years old. I remember the first piece of songs I was starting to learn was from the concert for George Harrison. Mm-hmm. I still think that's still one of the best rock concerts of all time. The tribute they did at the Royal Albert Hall. This is like 2002 during that time period. So my grandpa and my Uncle Mark noticed that I had a natural just strumming pattern. I could get down rhythm and just playing guitar, and I got that down. But, you could have this, but if you're not able to go with the left hand, it really doesn't matter. So I was blessed with natural skills from my grandfather. He passed that down to me. I started playing guitar really fast, and then, just transitioning that going into playing in competitions as part of the all-city jazz band in elementary school. When I went into high school, I was handpicked from the music director because my older sister Alex, she actually started attending the high school I went to a year before me. She's like 2 years older than I am. So she got in there and she's like, hey, my brother plays guitar. He plays xylophone. He plays percussion. He does all this music stuff, right? Like I got to play at the orchestra hall downtown. That's when I was in 8th grade. Yeah, no, I got to play at Navy Pier before. I got to play at the Pritzker Theater stage in Millennium Park in downtown Chicago before I played there. So I was very fortunate. I thought I was on a particular path of playing of the musics. When I got into high school, my music director at the time, Robert Vega, who attended Berklee College of Music, he was part of the Marines, I think, as well too. He was playing trumpet in there.
Marine, it wasn't the President's Own, was it?
Huh?
Was it the President's Own Marine Band or?
I
mean, the Marine Band has a bunch of different, they have the main one.
Yeah, different tiers. Yeah.
Because it runs out across the country. Yeah.
Oh, basically, his role was he did all the Marine stuff, but also he played music. He played trumpet. I remember he was telling us he was in Boston during his stay in the Marines, and he would play trumpets the day of 9/11, which is crazy. That's another story for another time. But I remember our first day in our freshman year of high school, he was like, with the fact that not a lot of kids in my school, this was a brand new school that started up. So we had a system of charter schools called Noble Street. And basically there was 5 different Noble Street schools in the city of Chicago. I went to Ronner, and not a lot of kids that attended school played music. I was one of 7 different kids in the school at the time that had experience playing music prior going into Ronner. So realistically, it's not realistic to expect anybody to get accepted to Berklee or some of these higher level schools. I'm a person, and I think you know this as well as anybody, I am, to a certain point, in more of a positive light, I am driven in proving people wrong and challenging myself. And I'm very driven in what I put my work ethic into. Obviously, this show is a testament to that. My transcripts is a testament to that. The fact that I'm doing a talk show is kind of a testament personally, because growing up, I was a shy kid. I dealt with a lot of dumb crap in elementary school, just like name calling, blah, 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 blah. But, just I always had an issue with some internal self-confidence. I guess the only thing that brought me happiness was playing music and just having the confidence of knowing that when I'm on stage and I'm reading music, when I'm doing percussion or guitar, nothing anybody says to me really matters. I'm in my own world. I'm in my element. And that was my way to express myself. Sure. So when I was in high school, I was just so motivated to get into Berklee. That was my main focus. Did I play football for 3 years? Yeah, I did. It was something else.
Everybody played. Yeah, you got to give it a shot.
Well, here's some context, though. Like, for me, growing up and stuff, for me personally, I just wanted to get out of the house. I did not want to be home a lot when I was in high school. There would be days where I start my day from 7 o'clock in the morning, would get back to like 8 o'clock at night, and still had to do homework. This is a charter school, so we would start our day at 8:30 and finish at 4. Sure. So I did a lot of stuff in high school, man, and some of it feels like a blur. And to think about it, like we're in 2020, right?
Yep. Yeah, and I know college just kind of runs together. No, I understand.
No, I'm just saying it goes by fast too. It's crazy. I'm looking at this picture right here. I'm gonna pull it out for you.
All right.
Pulling off my wall.
No, our audience can't see, but we'll try to describe what this photo is. All right. Oh, right. Nice eye. Look at that.
All right, this is a picture. We're on YouTube Live right now, actually, so people could see this. I pull this over. Here's yours truly right here in the left corner of the.
There you are.
This is a picture from Berklee College of Music National High School Jazz Festival. I got to play in 2 jazz festivals in high school, my junior and senior year of high school. Our junior year, we finished 5th out of 200 bands.
Oh, wow. Nice.
That year. And, we got to do a lot of the CPS city competitions. Still, taking that music drive that I had from elementary school and put it into high school, all music. I played it with my grandpa's band on the side, playing at clubs at the age I should have been at certain times. I was just all music. I thought I was going to be like the next Glenn Fry. I was always inspired by classical 70s rock musicians like Tom Petty or the Eagles. Eagles are my favorite musical band. And I always had a deep appreciation for all types of music because it's a good challenge, to put yourself in a different element emotionally, because I think emotion is something that people don't really notice when it comes to people playing an instrument. I think that could come off in the way you sound. I think it comes off in the way you approach those songs you learn. Let's say like you're a, I don't know, like a saxophone player and you're getting into a jazz group. If you're not putting in the time to feel what the key of your song is and the flow and the rhythm of what that song's supposed to be, how's anybody going to relate to any of the solos you do during the show, you know?
Yeah.
So it was just a big personal challenge for me at that time. So it was fun getting to play in those competitions. My senior year, I did an audition at the Chicago recording studio, company studio downtown by the Hancock building. The same studio where Michael Jackson recorded You Are Not Alone.
Oh, wow. Cool.
And I got to play a song. You guys can check it up after the show's over, but the song I auditioned for the Berklee College of Music was Give Me Love. So I went to my audition to showcase my rhythm skills because that's where I was best at just from a playing point of view. And this showcasing I could do that and play melodic chords. And this song had a capo on it on a third fret. It was cool. My goal, I wanted to play this song just like how it sounded like the record. Blew the guys away. Got to show them my knowledge of scales and a lot of just fun music lingo that I don't want to bore everybody with. But long story short, the beginning part of my childhood was all music. I got accepted on March 31st of 2012 to Berklee.
I remember you telling me that.
And it's a part of me that it doesn't bring me down. It's something I don't forget. Like, it's something on my resume that nobody can take away from me.
Right.
The fact that I wasn't able to attend the school for things that are out of my control. But you know, I know the effort I put into the beginning part of my life into music, and even still to this day, I still play and do covers. And I feel like, you know, whether this music stuff plans out or whatever, music will always be my plan B because music is what I started with. So, yeah, I know I was talking a lot there, but I just want to give you some time.
That's what this is about. That's what this is about. Yeah, and by the way, you also want to follow Josh. He has an Instagram page at Josh Lopez Music. You can follow him on Instagram, and he's got covers of all of these wonderful tunes. So be sure to check that out on Instagram. That's going to be terrific. Okay, so fast forward now. So you got into Berklee and did the music stuff. How did you get – your next stop was broadcasting school, I believe. Is that correct? So talk to us about broadcasting school and how that came about and your journey through that.
All right, so we're in 2012. I was 18, right, at the time. So decent. I couldn't afford to go to Berklee, right? Couldn't go at the time. Had some stuff going on at home at that time as well. So I decided to go to Columbia College here in Chicago, and I was told that I would not be allowed to take any of my main music classes, which I was going for. That was the degree I was opining for, if you will.
Good word. Good call there. Very good. Yeah.
So I was going there for music, and they said I could do any of my music stuff until my junior year. Columbia really expected me to pay around $50,000 before I could get in there. I had one guitar enrichment class, as for, again, beginning guitar players.
Right.
At the end of my first semester, I was at the point where I was helping the students in the class with certain chords and stuff, and it was stupid. It was not the right time. That year in general is just a really year that I want to forget in a lot of ways. While I was happy and personally, I felt some sense of validation that I got into Berklee and I graduated high school. There was just a lot of different things that came in my way personally. It just threw me off, and it was not a good year for me personally. So instead of feeling sorry for myself and looking for handouts, I'm not that type of person. It's just not how I was raised or how I'm wired, more importantly. So a friend of mine, Alex Velasquez, reached out to me. He was attending Columbia at the same time, but he was into like making movies and some type of that. And he was telling me there was this new school on State Street in Congress in downtown Chicago. It was literally like 2 blocks away from Columbia. It was called, at the time, Illinois Center for Broadcasting. So He reached out to me. He's like, "Hey, man, they're starting a new class in March. It's a 2-year program. Do what you gotta do. If you graduate, you get your license to be a broadcaster." So that time in my life, I needed an outlet, and I needed to challenge myself again personally to find myself. Mm-hmm. So just like how it was my freshman year, where somebody's like, "Okay, you want to do something, it's not realistic for you to do it." I did it.
Right.
Same thing here with broadcasting. The challenge that I had for myself was me personally. It was not being in front of a camera or talk behind a mic. It was myself inside of finding some confidence in myself to be like, have people to care what I had to say. For so many years in my life, even throughout music, because I always hid behind my guitar. For those who don't know me, guys, like I hid behind my music. That was my personality. Mm-hmm. If people approached me, if they wanted to talk to me, I would talk to them. But most times or not, I'd be quiet and just doing my own thing. And, you know, people like to feed off perceptions, and everybody goes, "Oh, perception's reality." It's not reality unless you have a conversation with someone. That's the way I look at it. I look at how you treat me as opposed to what you think I am. Mm-hmm. And I think action always speaks louder than words. So it was a challenge. It was like, you know what? I have people at my family would be like, "Oh, you're so shy. How are you going to do broadcasting? How are you going to be the next GR if you never talk? Or you're not, you don't want to go to social events, blah, 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 blah." I was like, you know what? F it. I'm going to go and finish first in my class. And I did. I finished first in my broadcasting class. I was blessed enough to have the opportunity to host my own wrestling talk show for 3 years, for 3 hours on one slot on Wednesday morning, called The Pro Wrestling Experience. We started this in 2013. My first show was a week after WrestleMania 29.
Oh, wow.
Go figure, since we're a couple days away from WrestleMania. So 7 years, man. It's crazy. I've been in
the broadcast game for 7 years.
Yeah, 7 years. It's wild, but it's been a process, but it's been worth it more than anything else. So I graduated. I had the most studio lab hours in my class. Just another part of the work ethic I had. I was fortunate enough to meet a lot of good people along the way. A friend of mine who passed away about a year and a half ago, Kevin Gray, was the guy who taught me how to run a board, how to produce a show, how to format a show. KG, I miss you, man. I'm not here without that dude. I'm not. I'm not here without the knowledge and advice I got from Jonathan Hood, who I do the Wrestling Tuesday podcast with. Jonathan Hood is a sports broadcaster here in the city of Chicago. He works for ESPN 1000, and me and Hood just hit it off, man. You know, he used to call me the Shawn Michaels of my class because Hoodie's a big wrestling fan. He called me the Shawn Michaels of my class. I wasn't sure at first if that was an insult or a compliment, right, but I took it as a compliment. So, so that's the story of the broadcasting, and it was a recommendation from my friend Alex. We started the show with each other. Actually, the first couple of shows I did, we recorded on Windows Movie Maker and uploaded on YouTube.
Man, I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry you had to endure that program that deserves to be sent into the realm of deletion. For sure.
So I got to do that. Cool accomplishment before we move on here. I got to cover a WrestleMania in San Jose while I was still in school. At the age of 20, this is like 2015 or so, somewhere around there. And I got to do that. That was a lot of fun. And then it was during that time I got introduced to a guy named Steven Muhlhausen, who works for Sporting News. He's an MMA pro wrestling writer. He told me about the idea of like transcribing wrestling shows, right? They do it play-by-play articles, because it's not just talking and recording podcasts or being a video producer. You got to be versatile in this line of work if you want any sustainability or a chance to work in this type of field. And it's like do writing. It'll really help you. It'll make you better on air. It'll make you get a better grasp of the business in general. So I took on that challenge, and the first show that I transcribed was the night CM Punk quit the WWE. Wow. And my life has gone in a lot of different ways, and some of these big events, this kind of overcomes me sometimes because, it's crazy. It's the first night you're doing a live play-by-play article where it's not like dirt sheets where they copy and paste each other's result articles. You're doing it on your own. So everything I've done on my own accord. And the first night is literally the night my favorite wrestler besides The Undertaker quits wrestling. Like, come on, man. So that's the music side, and that's how I got to broadcasting.
Very nice. That's very cool. Yeah, because I would imagine that in really any type of sports, entertainment, anything under the entertainment banner, you've got to find ways to separate yourself from everybody else and find yourself filling niches that need to be filled and finding a way to, bring something new to the marketplace. Is that a fair assessment?
Yeah, that's very fair. And a lot of what goes into our line of work is just networking and understanding the grind that goes into this line of work. I don't take anything away from teachers or just general workers in the economy, no matter what line of work it is, where people, believe it or not, there's a certain grind that goes through every job you have in your life. And it's all about how you go about it. I know what I want out of my life, and I know it was either to tour around the world as a musician or be the next Jim Ross. That was my two things, Brother Carter. So, while I haven't had the opportunity, there's not a school for pro wrestling announcers, It's not, there's not some program to get in. Okay, you do this for a certain amount of time, you start calling matches for promotions. That's just not how it works. So,
right. I know announcers, they're either former pro wrestlers or somebody that they brought in from who was already in broadcasting. Like a Mauro Ranallo, who had been doing boxing, and then they brought him in.
Yes.
Byron Saxton, who was a wrestler, then they moved him. Aiden English, they were talent that they've now been moved to the broadcast team. Corey Graves,
right? Yes, and I also knew that I didn't want to be a wrestler, so I knew what lane I wanted to be in, too. And if I was going to be a play-by-play commentator, I need to know what the hell I was talking about. So that's why I format the transcripts I do, kind of understand the format of the television show, taking notes from Michael Cole and Mauro Ranallo, how they transition from one commercial break to the next, and plugging. I learned that through school. There would be times where we had to record our own commercial scripts. 30-second commercial scripts and just read on ads. Like, hey, everybody, my name is Josh Lopez. Have you heard about Blue Chew? It's the one-stop shop for pleasure. Make sure to go to bluechew.com/TheHootsPodcast to find more information. Something like that, just off the cuff,
Sure.
Any type of radio ads you would hear during the day,
I understand.
No, Blue Chew came off the top of my head because I saw an ad that Rob was plugging on Twitter. That's why I brought it up. It's not waterfall related. No, actually,
I'm like, what kind of show is this, Brother Adam? Are we transitioning into new direction for the next 100 episodes? What are we doing?
I will say this though. We'll mention this more next week, but as the show progresses, I'm trying to strive to make sure it's not 100% wrestling all the time where it's breaking down every segment, and I want to get my thoughts in about sports. I think the show has always been a variety show because me and Adam always talked about mental health and the stuff that we dealt with personally. And this is like a life podcast. I always remember Cole Cabana say that in his Art of Wrestling show. This is a life podcast, a personal journal into the daily lives, Right. So I want this show to be an escape for everybody. I want this to be fun, learn something for myself, and keep some positive energy because everybody's so negative these days, man.
Absolutely. Well, Roman Reigns talked about that. I don't know if you watched his Instagram
I did
video, but you're right. He talks about that. That's crazy. Okay, last question, Josh, and then we'll get into some wrestling talk. I want to talk about this particular show, the evolution of this show. Now it's called the Hoots Podcast, and it's funny. You actually talked about, one of the questions I was going to ask is, why is it now called the Hoots Podcast? But before we get into that, I want to go back to the very, very beginning of this show. Okay. Now, when this show first started, the Josh Lopez Wrestling Podcast is, I believe, how this show began, right?
Yes.
You and Adam, our good friend Adam Daly, both started the show. Was Matt a part of the show back then as well? I can't remember.
No, when we started the show, I was not even part of the Pipe Bomb yet. So, little context here. When we started the Josh Lopez Wrestling Podcast, I was still working for WrestleZone. I met Adam through just channels like this, like when I think it was like 2014 or 2015. And Adam was like a weekly guest on my old radio show. So the Pro Wrestling Experience was a radio show. It's a little different format than what you guys listen to now these days. But we just grew up deep on, man. That guy's my brother to the day I die. I'd take a bullet for that dude. I haven't been able to hit him up as much as I like to. He has a job. He's busy, man. But this show does not exist without Adam Daly, and I'm not one for ego or need pats in the back. This show does not exist without Adam Daly. So I asked him about it because he was still doing his original show, Countdown Recount, with Sam, right? Mm-hmm. And I was like, hey, if things don't work out with that particular show, you want to keep doing this, let's have some fun. We can shoot the shit. We can talk about music. We can talk about sports. We can talk about wrestling. We can do whatever we want, right? Mm-hmm. And a lot of the shows at the time, podcasting-wise or just video shows from wrestling websites, they're all very similar. Mm-hmm. Let's break down Raw. Let's break down SmackDown. Let's do this. Let's do that, right?
How many shows, like if you need 100 different breakdowns of Raw or SmackDown, you can find that.
Right. What are you going to do to make yourself stand out and make people care about your show in the first place, right?
What makes your show different, right?
That's the question you always got to ask yourself if you want to do this type of podcast work. That's my advice for anybody who wants to start their own show. Understand there's a grind that goes into this. And, it's not just coming on here and talking and editing shows. There's a lot of thought that goes into it. And it kind of bothers me sometimes when people look down and you're like, whoa, you make money for just sitting on your ass and talk? No.
Right.
Yeah.
But how easy is it to just sit back and throw shade when people don't? I mean, this is the world we live in. It's way easier to throw shade.
You have a lot of people who are stuck in their own conventional ways because they can't think outside of what they grow up in.
Right.
Think about that. I think a lot of maturing comes from you actually thinking for yourself and not thinking about what your parents would think or what other family members would think. It's not for you to be selfish, but a certain part of your life, you need to start making decisions for yourself. I made a decision for myself personally to leave WrestleZone because I was not being treated right as a worker there. Mm-hmm. And it showed me a bad side of what this wrestling media game actually is. So, you know what? I left. We're still having the Josh Lopez Wrestling Podcast. We were having fun. We were getting a lot of numbers right off the guy. I remember I think our third show, we did like almost 5,000 listeners on YouTube. It was like fucking insane. And then, I think it was the summer of that year, I got into the Pipe Bomb with Matt. Mm-hmm. But the Josh Lopez Wrestling Podcast was always just me and Adam. And then when Adam took his first break for podcasting, that's when the transition went into the Hoots Podcast. So
and you talked about a little bit. So I was going to say, you just decided to change the name to the Hoots Podcast because of the Carl Anderson.
Yes. Now here's the thing. I wanted to mention this with Josh Lopez Wrestling Podcast. I did not make that name to rip off Sam Roberts. I want to make that perfectly clear. Mm-hmm. I had a certain name and brand to myself. I was having a time while working at WrestleMania. My name got out a little bit out there with the interviews I did on Pro Wrestling Experience. So it was a way for people to find my show.
Right.
Okay. Gorilla position. I love the show. James Steele is the man. I love that dude. I met that guy before, the guy from London, James Steele, WWGP on Twitter, by the way. Awesome dude. It's not an original name for a show, Like, what wrestling term can I use to make this an interesting name for the show? So I went with my name. It was what it was, but the show was more than what my name is. And the same thing goes with the Hoots podcast. So I was listening to Talking Shop, and I want to give credit to Ant for as well, because I remember sometimes he would call either G Rod or Phil Quintana Hoot. What's a Hoot? So I guess Hoot is a brother or just a really good friend, you know? And it's like, you know, that's really what our shows are in a nutshell. Whether it was on the Pipe Bomb or whether we did Universal Chatter or Warm Up, it's just a brotherhood of friends just talking about wrestling and having a good time and making each other laugh, you know?
Do we make each other laugh? Oh, my God. You remember? I still remember. You remember when I told B-Rob that his honey sucked?
Yes. That was awesome.
It's still one of the most funny moments I've ever had doing this. I mean, I still remember Rob being like, I can't. He was like, I can't breathe. I'm laughing so hard. And of course, Mitchell was giving us shade and all that stuff. Oh, that was a great. Yeah, you're right, man. That's what it is. We're just hanging out, having fun. It's great.
Right. So we got into the Hoots podcast, and then Adam came back. I think it was the week after Raw 25. I can't remember because it was going into WrestleMania 34. We got to the Hoots podcast. Shout out to Ant for the logo. Great. That's why I was saying earlier, Ant's a big part of this show as anybody else as well. So I want to give a shout out to the good brother.
You still keep in touch with him, or?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Cool.
He has a new sports podcast. Make sure to go to Game of Ant. I always mess up the name for his new sports show, but he does a podcast now about Philly sports. And Anthony Stoughton, if you guys don't remember him from Rant with Ant. So give a shout out to the good brother Anthony. So
it was a very popular and well done podcast.
Yes.
That was a great show. It was great. Anyways, go ahead.
Yeah, so when we got to the Hoots podcast, I wouldn't say we brought more of an edge, but I think for anybody that knows me personally and has more conversation knows that I kind of have no filter in a way.
No, yes.
I grew up watching Beavis and Butthead and just all types of edgy comedy. I think that's kind of fits me to a T at a certain time. Not that I want to offend people just out of the way, you know. I'm not that type of person, but I don't think it's a sin to throw a couple curse words just to make from a comedy point of view, you know, or talk about Waterfall or whatever the situation is. If I can make you laugh, if I can say that Penelope Ford is Ice Mountain Waterfall and that can make you laugh, like Red Carter right there. Yeah. You know, there you go. I did my that's the reason why we did the Waterfall segment on the Pipe Bomb with B-Rob. Me and him came up with that. Yeah. And it was like, okay, it's not just a segment just pointing out women's actual waterfall. It was a comedy bit. Right. or the go the fuck home or stay the fuck home segment. That was another one. You know.
You had the Yawn Club at one point.
Oh yes. Yes, that was a segment here on the Hoots podcast. The Yawn Club, audio demonstration of Nimrods.
That's right. Right.
That's where I brought audio clips of Brian Alvarez and Dave Meltzer being Brian Alvarez and Dave Meltzer. No words need to be said after that.
I was reading this week's Wrestling Observer. It's just
they're horrible. You know, it was funny. I saw Ryan Satt yesterday on Twitter say, you know, it's interesting that Brian Alvarez is going on rants on Monday Night Raw's ratings during this pandemic that's going on. Really? That's what you want to rant about these days? Like, yeah, come on, man. The show it's been consistent with the fact that this show is not about popping blood vessels, about booking, right? This show is about expressing what we enjoy about wrestling. If there's something that we don't like, we'll mention it, but it's not going to dominate the show.
Right.
And once we found out that AEW is going to be around, I told Adam this. I didn't want this show to be like, okay, this one show's better than this one. Like, when could we get to the part where we could watch an AEW show and just say, okay, that's an awesome AEW show. And not say, oh my God, it was 10 times better than SmackDown or Raw. Like, I'm not opposed to competition, but can we enjoy professional wrestling for what it is?
Right.
Like, the fact that you're thinking about WWE while you're watching the AEW show is a bad thing, in my point of view. Why you need to compare it? Yeah, you got the alternative you want, right? So if you're tired of WWE, why are you still talking about it? You're giving them more publicity. Every time you mention AEW, oh my God, they booked their shows better than WWE. Oh my God, the floor of the show is so much better. Oh my God. Like you guys, like on Twitter, not pointing out anybody in particular, but some of you on Twitter literally get on your knees for this company sometimes. It's very odd. Like, I don't think any pro wrestling show is Teflon. And that's another topic for another time. But the main gist of the show is to have fun, express some positive mental attitude, talk about mental health. I think that's a very important part of our show.
Yeah.
And, just being a positive wrestling escape instead of coming on a show and having somebody yell at you for 90 minutes and be like, oh, you shouldn't be a wrestling fan anymore because Vince McMahon doesn't know how to book talent anymore. That wasn't our goal of this show. So the Hoots Podcast is a variety show. We're not afraid to talk some deep topics that maybe some people wouldn't, but the goal is to make you think, get a little different perspective than just looking at it from a narrow-minded point of view about life or even wrestling, and just to make you laugh. So I hope I've done that so far the last 4 years or so.
Oh, it's been great. And you don't have to agree with everything that we're saying. In fact, we want you to disagree occasionally with what we're saying because
absolutely. Hey, I'm not an expert. I'm not. I do this for a living. I am not an expert. I never worked for a pro wrestling company. I'm not going to come here and tell you that my opinion is better than yours or it has more validity than yours. Okay, I do articles. That's it. Like it doesn't make me an analyst. Just because you do copy paste, paraphrase description audio from Meltzer's site doesn't make you an expert. I said this last week. There's a lot of people that literally paraphrase a segment from the Observer radio show while Meltzer's just coughing and stammering the entire time. That's basically what it is without the play-by-play articles. And I was mentioning this last week. Shout out to the good brother Jeff Pamacho, who came on the show last week. Awesome dude. He did the Ain't Your Mama Soap Opera podcast a couple years ago. Really cool dude. And I saw them like, I don't think a lot of people understand the work that actually goes into the play-by-play articles from a media perspective, because somebody who is in the media and has a license to be a broadcaster, there's more journalism that goes into play-by-play articles than there is on any type of article that you see on any website. That's not for me to pat my shoulder or anything like that. That's just the truth. Right. You could easily point out who's copying and pasting, and people are actually giving you the news that you need to know. So that's my thoughts on that. But the Hoots Podcast, man, this meant my therapy in a lot of ways. And I always say, man, Thursdays are my favorite day of the week because I get to record and get my mind off of things. And it's besides, getting to meet people like you or Adam, and the list goes on and on. This show and just broadcasting in general has saved my life in a lot of ways. So I can't thank you guys enough.
No, thank you for providing the content and for allowing us, me, some, moron who doesn't really, just some guy whose opinion doesn't really matter, the platform to express his thoughts. So I appreciate that. Well, you know what, Josh, this is a wrestling podcast. So let's get into some wrestling. All right. I want to run through a few topics because, like you said, we want to try to keep this at about an hour and a half.
Yes, sir.
So we've got to burn through a few things. And then we've got some predictions to make because there's a little show coming up this weekend. I don't know if you were aware, but there's a little wrestling show coming up this weekend that we should probably get into. But I want to start with SmackDown, and let's think about getting back to last Friday's SmackDown. We happen to be recording this on a Friday morning. So we're recording this on Friday morning, April the 3rd. So tonight's show will be the go-home show to WrestleMania coming up this weekend. And I want to start, Josh, by actually a couple things from SmackDown I want to talk about. I want to ask you about Tamina and her return. We haven't seen her in a long time, and she comes in, makes a really big impression. And I've actually been a fan of Tamina for a long time. I think I think she has a good look. I think she's good in the ring. She just hasn't had the avenue or the opportunity to really been showcased. And I feel the same thing about Dana Brooke. I really think Dana Brooke is a wonderful talent, good in the ring, talk about waterfall game, man. Dana Brooke, she can go, but she just hasn't given the chance. But going back to Tamina,
right?
Where do you see Tamina fitting into this match at WrestleMania? Is she just there to fill a body? Like, what is her role, and what's going to be going on with her going forward?
Well, essentially, when you have multi-person matches, whether it's men or women, you always have like a roadblock. I mean, look at the Fatal 4-Way from SummerSlam a couple years ago. It was Brock Lesnar, Samoa Joe, Roman Reigns, and Braun Strowman. Braun Strowman was the roadblock in that match. Well, It's interesting. Think about it. If you look at paper, you got a guy like Roman Reigns, or the guy that's built like Samoa Joe, or a guy like Brock Lesnar, who you all think would be roadblocks, but literally it's Braun Strowman. If you watch that match back, he was the roadblock in that match. So same thing applies here with Tamina, and obviously she's in the nearing the end of her career, but I thought she was very effective. JR has a saying, you got to maximize your TV time. So whether you have a 15-minute match or your promo is just 6 words, you got to make the best out of it. She did. I think some women in the WWE kind of rely too much on super kicks, but that's fine,
It's a generic move that's used over and over and over again.
Super kick party.
I was about to say, are you referring to the Bucks of Youth?
Yes.
We're gonna get into them too, because but yeah, I agree, Josh. Like, I'm a fan of Tamina. I hope that she gets one more run before the end of her career. Even if it's just for 1 month. Let her be SmackDown Women's Champion, Raw Women's Champion, so she can have solidify herself as a champion before. Because I think she's earned it. I definitely think she's earned it.
I agree with that too, and also I remember when she was a babyface and she had that kind of relationship thing with Santino going on. I thought those things they did was pretty funny. So,
speaking of comedy in the women's division, is this the best Asuka we've ever seen? I think it is. And when this first started, and I've been an Asuka mark for a long time, ever since she came, debuted in NXT. I've been an Asuka mark, and I have no qualms about admitting that. And I thought when they turned her heel and gave her this, and again, I'm using air quotes right now, oh God, they're going to give her this stupid gimmick because they have nothing to do with her, blah, 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 blah. She has taken this thing and has made it work. And I am 110% down with the new Asuka, the new psychotic Asuka. It is working. When she starts her rants, just her insane rants in Japanese, like, it's amazing. And then she gives a few words in English, like, it works. It works. Asuka on commentary is unbelievable. So not only is she brilliant in the ring, she's one of the best female wrestlers on the roster. She's able to take a gimmick and make it work. This new psychotic thing is incredible. So I think this is the best Asuka we've ever seen. What do you think?
I'm not as fluent in Japanese. I do know a little bit of the language while documenting the pro wrestling that's in New Japan. So I get a little bit of what they're saying when they're cursing and stuff. And there's been a couple of curse words that haven't got bleeped out while Asuka's gone on rants, but what are you gonna do? It's not gonna kill anybody, right? I love it too, man. It's interesting. We were in attendance for Asuka and Charlotte, which I still say to this day is probably the best women's match I ever seen in person.
That was great.
Besides Mickie James and Trish Stratus in WrestleMania 22.
We were both there. You and I were both there.
Yes, that was an awesome match. She cracks me up, man. The fact she ran through, I think it was Kaden Carter last week, and just literally ran up to do more commentary after the match. It was hilarious.
Right. Now, we haven't seen, and I'm curious about this, Josh. I want to get your take on this and why this is the case. We haven't seen Kairi Sane for a long time. Now, my initial thought was that she's stuck somewhere and can't get back into the United States, and they've just been writing it off. I haven't seen anything on the dirt sheets, and I'm a dirt sheet writer. By the way, check out my stuff on WrestlingRumors.net. Cheap plug. But I haven't seen her a while. So, do you know anything about this? If they're just keeping her off TV just because they don't need her, or can she not get back in the country? I haven't seen any reports on that, so I don't know.
this pandemic thing is really not only throwing life in a loop, it's just throwing wrestling in the loop too, because a lot of the stuff is fluid, so you don't know what's real, what's not.
Right.
And I think Roman Reigns was talking about that in his Instagram video the other day as well. A lot of people jump into conclusions about the way he goes about his life, which I think is absolutely ridiculous. Mm-hmm. From what I last heard, that Kyrie got married before this pandemic went down, so I don't know whether she went on a vacation or she just wanted spending some time with her new husband. Congratulations, by the way. If the talents just needed to show up for that day of taping for WrestleMania, I could understand that. I remember Triple H saying in an interview he did with Pat McAfee the other day, he's like, we're not going to begrudge or we're not going to push somebody down if they did not want to be part of these shows. So why would you do that in the first place? So, if they only needed her to show up that day to record that match with Alexa and Nikki Cross coming up, which I'm excited for, I think that'd be a good match, then that's fine. Sometimes I think for us, I think as we get into this new decade in 2020, I think us as wrestling fans in general need to stop playing like the authority on why people make decisions in their own lives as professional wrestlers. We have no authority on what they do in their life. You could say something about what you think about their character or whatever the situation is, but can we leave the personal stuff out of these wrestlers' lives?
Right. Yeah. But you can't though. I mean, that's like saying to people in Hollywood, we need to leave out of your personal lives. Unfortunately, when you're a celebrity and you're in the spotlight 24/7, that just goes with the territory. It's anytime you are in a field where you are in front of people all the time to make a living, you're subject to that. And it's fair or foul. That's the reality. When you're in entertainment, when you're in politics, when you're in, sports, whatever it is, like, you have to be willing to put your personal life out there, and you have to be, because that's what people want to see. They want to see because really I think a lot of people, they put these larger than life personalities on pedestals, and again, fair or foul, rightfully so, I don't know.
Yeah.
But for me, it's always cool when we see that they're humans too, like that they have real lives. They go through real life struggles just like the rest of us, Look at Roman Reigns with the leukemia thing. Think how many people he has helped and has, really motivated to and inspired to keep going and to let everybody know that it's going to be okay.
Right.
So just like I said, to me, unfortunately, that comes with the territory.
Right.
So,
but Kyrie be there, and those girls are a trip, man, because Kyrie drops in some curse words as well. So
she's great, and I've been a Kyrie Sane fan too ever since she won the tournament. Now, one more thing I want to talk about on SmackDown, Josh, and then we'll move on to Raw. Okay. But and it's something that I've been and I know this is we're trying to be a positive show here, so I need you to help me see the positive with still my favorite wrestler in WWE right now, which is and has been for a long time, as you know, Shinsuke Nakamura. I've been a Nakamura fan for years. He's my favorite. I think when used correctly, he's absolutely incredible. But where do we see Nakamura growing from here? Because I have not. I've just been. I really want him to go back to what he was doing before, where he was just kicking ass. He won the Royal Rumble, was competing for the WWE Championship. And it was awesome. He was giving great promos. He's incredible in the ring. I'm a huge Nakamura fan. Mm-hmm. Could this possibly be when they get him out of this and start doing this thing? Like, just help me understand how I'm supposed to be feeling about Shinsuke Nakamura right now.
Well, here's my thing with Nakamura. And this goes back to when he first signed with WWE. I think a lot of times we put unrealistic expectations for performers that come outside WWE, and we expect them to be in these main event slots because you have these amazing barn burners and these other companies. And whether people believe it or not, some wrestlers resonate different in WWE no matter what position they're in, whether they're being booked right or they're being booked wrong. I mean, it wasn't like AJ Styles was getting John Cena pops when he first came to WWE, and he made the best out of it. So it's not all because it wasn't Vince creation. Oh, it doesn't matter. I mean, I still say this. I think a lot of people sleep on what that AJ Styles Nakamura rivalry was, because I actually enjoyed it. We were there for it for WrestleMania 34. I was fortunate to be there for the Money in the Bank Last Man Standing match, which was fucking awesome. It was a great match to watch in person. Nakamura has done a lot of good stuff in the WWE. Mm-hmm. For him to even have a WWE title match at a WrestleMania notch on this belt, and that was only 2 years ago. So I think what we get lost in translation is that there's a lot of program that we go through throughout the year, and that kind of wears down on how you feel about certain performers at a certain time. Do I think that he needs to be in a group with Cesaro and Sami Zayn? I don't like his remix of his song.
Oh God!
Actually, he was a good heel in New Japan, but I don't need to see him as a heel in WWE. We had Kento Suzuki. We had other heels that just didn't go anywhere. So I think that Nakamura would be a good fit if he goes back to NXT, if that's something that he would want to do. But, you know, I wouldn't consider what he's done in WWE so far as a flop, because the guy had a title match at a WrestleMania. He eliminated Roman Reigns to win a Royal Rumble.
I'm not saying his run in WWE is a flop. I mean, you're right. He's won the Royal Rumble. Like, they have given him the keys to the Cadillac. He's had multiple WWE title matches, including one at WrestleMania. I'm just talking about right now.
No, I agree. Right now. No, I agree. I would like to see a lot more from Nakamura than just being a lackey and just coming in for cheap shots of Kinshasas and stuff. You know,
being one of Sami Zayn's lackeys, for lack of a better term.
Yeah, you don't need Nakamura to be a heater, but so, you know, whether this could lead into Nakamura and Sami Zayn for the IC title, or him and Daniel Bryan have a feud with each other. I think it's all about the pairings you get with sometimes too. So I can see more for Nakamura. I just don't need him in this group anymore. So
right, yeah, I think that's the big thing for me, is that he needs to be out of this group. If they want to keep him a heel, fine, but keep him out of this group. But I mean, I'm actually curious to see how they do the Sami Zayn Daniel Bryan match this weekend, because Zayn really, if you think about it, he hasn't been in a one-on-one wrestling match in a long time. And when he was in that multiple person match, he didn't really do anything. He just kind of sat around, made a little last minute move to cheaply win the title, which I think has been great. Like, I love Sami Zayn. I know you don't like his theme song, Josh, but I love Sami Zayn. I think he's hilarious.
Yeah. You know, you're a good heel. Even though I'm a fan of yours, you still annoy me. So
that means he's doing his job.
Right.
That's what the heels are supposed to do. But okay, well, I want to transition to Raw now, because I know we're running short on time. I want to transition to Raw now, and I've got to tell you, and I want to give huge props to WWE, despite what Meltzer and his readers think. WWE, I really think, has done a tremendous job dealing with this pandemic and with transitioning, and making the best out of a bad situation. And really, when I think about Raw this week, to me, over the last couple weeks, some of the promos that have been delivered have been some of the best promos I've seen in a long time. You go back to a couple weeks ago, Seth Rollins dropping his promo with Kevin Owens, talking about that was incredible. This past week on Raw, you see promos from The Undertaker, which was awesome. Talking to Alan Jones, he's like, "Oh, we're making this real now? Okay, Alan Jones." Like, that was awesome. That was great. Edge talking about.
By the way, I hope B-Rob was. We had this thing where B-Rob always goes after The Undertaker now, because he got mad. Because here's the long story short. Like, when we had WrestleMania 33, I was there for that match for him and Roman Reigns, right? And they did the ceremony, took the hat off. Everybody thought he was going to retire. Rob said on his show that that moment made him cry. So the Undertaker made him cry. He thought it was real. So now ever since the Undertaker came back and wrestled, he's been salty about it. He's like, "Look, the Undertaker." So I hope that made B-Rob happy.
Yeah, because that was a great promo from the Undertaker. I enjoyed that.
Awesome.
Edge gave a great promo. Paul Heyman at the end of Raw talking about the go home show. Like that was like they're slowly breaking the fourth wall just a little bit more, which is they're not breaking the fourth wall, but just kind of even more so than ever. They're blurring the lines between fiction and reality. Starting to talk about their real names. They're starting to pull the curtain back just a little bit, which I think has been awesome. So I wanted to get your thoughts right now. Two things I wanted to ask you about. Number one, if you agree with me or your thoughts on WWE's handling of the coronavirus situation. And I also wanted to ask you if you like the format that they're doing, where they're doing a lot of promo work, a couple in-ring matches, and then showing a lot of old matches from the WWE network. So talk to me, Josh, about how WWE is handling the coronavirus pandemic and if you like the format of their show.
All right, to the first question, I like the fact that we're not just getting replays for the sake of replays. Initially, when I found out that WrestleMania was going to get canceled due to this stuff, I wanted it just to be postponed and, do what you got to do there. But the fact that they continue to go on and produce the shows, and like you said, I agree. I loved a lot of the pros that have been being aired over the last couple weeks. I don't want to forget about the one that Seth Rollins cut last week because I thought that was probably one of his best promos of his career so far.
Yeah, awesome.
And just speaking from the heart, while it takes a little while for me to transcribe the dialogue sometimes because we're getting longer promos. So here's a little behind the scenes story. Like I could transcribe a wrestling match faster than I could transcribe a promo because I'm challenging myself to make sure it looks right. So basically when I do a transcript, I wanted to like paint the picture for you guys for what actually really happened. It's kind of like the theater of their mind type of thing. Mm-hmm. So it takes a while when you're transcribing dialogue. Hell, it takes me a while to transcribe those Ruthless Aggression shows, so it's like a lot of pausing, this and that. But I really enjoyed the format of it. The guys are speaking from the heart. They're speaking to the camera too. And there's not a point in these promos where you could point like, oh, you should be saying that. A lot of these guys are speaking from the heart. You're resonating with what they're saying. Randy Orton is another example like that. Seeing the Undertaker say that AJ Styles was content being a big fish in a small pond. I thought that was a great line. Mm-hmm. So I think they made the best out of this situation. And, the couple matches here and there was what it was. You get some Aleister Black squatches, which is always fine. I don't mind seeing people getting laid out by the Black Mass. This is the greatest thing ever. No, but it doesn't have to be. I don't think there's a right way or wrong way to present an empty arena show. We're lucky we're getting shows at all. I mean, we can get replays of pay-per-views on Raw or SmackDown if that's what we want. If what we're getting right now for WWE is not to your standards or what you want at this current juncture, then I don't know. Maybe it's not the brand for you anymore. I don't know. But I think they made the best out of the situation. I mean, look at the promo that Edge cut this week. Talking about grit and saying that his passion makes Randy Orton jealous. Yeah. I thought that was amazing. Even Kevin Owens getting a chance to cut a promo for his match.
Yeah, that was great. Good.
Rollins. If we had the show in the stadium, I bet you that match would have been Hell in a Cell. That part of me with this card that while I'm happy it's a 2-night event, I'm bummed out as a fan that actually paid tickets for the show. I wanted to do that for in person, but think about this for a 2-night concept. A couple of months ago, I did night 1 and 2 of Wrestle Kingdom. That was 10 hours of wrestling.
well, and then, I want to see how this works. Could WWE have stumbled into a new format for WrestleMania? Because there's so, you said Wrestle Kingdom does it, and that's one of the biggest wrestling shows in the world.
Well, here's the thing, though. Wrestle Kingdom was a little different because the main matches for this show bled into the second night. For WrestleMania, you have a card of matches that could fit on any night.
Sure.
So for wrestling, they had a kind of like a tournament type thing. So whoever won the matches for the IC title, the heavyweight title, they fought each other the next night in the main event for the double gold dash. So that's how they did for New Japan. I thought it was an interesting concept. I enjoyed the shows, but New Japan just relied on too many tag matches to fill out the rest of the card for that particular Wrestle Kingdom. So I think that gives WWE the edge for this weekend because you got singles matches, you got gimmick matches, you got multi-person matches as well. So you get a variety of things, and you have the matches in different locations. So I'm very curious to see how this works out.
Yeah. I'm intrigued. I want to see how this pans out. And like I said, what is one of the things that people usually complain about when it comes to WrestleMania is just the show is too long. Last year WrestleMania, it was, if you count the pre-show, it was like a 7-hour show. And you could tell, like, they replayed the last week on Raw, they replayed the triple threat match, and I forgot Michael Cole's voice was shot by the end of the night because he had been calling wrestling action for over 5 hours. So we'll see. But I'm curious about this weekend, and I think Raw has done, and WWE has done a great job with their format going forward. I haven't had a chance to check out NXT. Have they been doing something similar, or have they been doing more matches?
I think they've been doing more matches on NXT. I think there was like 5 or 6 this week on NXT.
Okay.
Keith Lee retained over Damian Priest and Dominic Dijakovic, which was an awesome match. Do you remember Samuel Shaw from TNA?
I don't.
Anyway, Samuel Shaw was a guy who used to wrestle at TNA. He has like some weird stalker gimmick, kind of like Heidenreich-esque. His name's Dexter Loomis. He made his debut on NXT the other night, and then they brought in a new group. There's a new faction around, ran by Malcolm Bivens, who used to be called Stokely Hathaway. By the way, I had a chance to interview Stokely Hathaway a few years ago on the old PWE show when he was in Ring of Honor. Awesome dude. Probably the best person in wrestling I ever dealt with when it came to interview. Unlike Davey Richards, who tried to charge me $150 for an interview. He could go fuck himself as far as I'm concerned. But yeah.
Interesting. Okay. Well, and then next week on NXT, you've got Tommaso Ciampa versus Johnny Gargano one final time. And that's gonna be an awesome match. I'm looking forward to that. I don't know if Killer Kross is gonna get involved with that since he made his debut, but
Killer Kross, man, that's probably my favorite wrestler outside of WWE right now. It's either him or Ishii from New Japan. Killer Kross is that dude, man. If you guys have seen his work, whether it's Lucha Underground or Impact Wrestling, that dude's the man. I love Killer Kross.
Well, he's going to be great in NXT. And this is going to be very exciting.
TikTok.
Oh, nice.
That's his thing.
Okay, cool. Okay, one thing I want to get into, Josh, and then we'll get into our WrestleMania predictions. And I want to switch gears to AEW real quick.
Okay.
I want to talk about Dynamite right now. I love, for me, what AEW has been doing. And you want to talk about being hit hard by think of all the talent that they're not able to feature on television. I mean, Pac, a lot of the female competitors who have to come in, from we haven't seen Nyla Rose. We haven't seen Riho. We haven't seen, again, Pac is a big one. I'm sure there's some others I'm missing, but we have some folks that come in, but they're really making the best of it. And I think it's been absolutely terrific what they're doing. Now, one thing that you and I were talking about beforehand, and I wanted to get your thoughts on this and something that you have been a concern about. AEW has introduced the TNT Championship, which is great. I think that's awesome. By the way, I think that's a brilliant marketing move too. Because, you keep, I know that the AEW has a television deal through 2023, but if you've got the mid-card title named after the company that you're broadcasting on, that's more incentive to keep it going forward. And then eventually if they want to branch out once this thing subsides and then I broadcast out to TBS and to other, networks underneath the Turner underneath the Turner banner, you can do that. But one thing you were concerned about, Josh, was Cody ending up winning the TNT Championship and putting himself kind of like in a Jeff Jarrett TNA spot. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Well, I'm only speaking in Cody Rhodes as the character. I'm not talking about the person. When you look at Cody Rhodes and how he conducted himself after he left WWE from a character point of view, he was super, super heel. Brash, everything should be entitled to me. I was being held back, so everything should be like. He played the sympathy card really well to the point where it made him a heel. And he had the whole kiss the ring thing. For anybody that watched Ring of Honor, I think you guys will understand what I'm talking about. And he did that a lot in New Japan as well. He was a heel there as well when he was part of the Bullet Club. So while I think he gets babyface spots for him being the face of AEW and, it's getting everybody riled up and everybody loves his entrance. And every time he comes out, he goes like, yeah. And he goes for the cheers. So I think Cody Rhodes is a good babyface. But I think there's also parts of him that's also kind of passive aggressive where he could be a heel as well. And I'm not saying this is going to happen. It's something that could happen. Perception in a way of the fact that this guy is part of the creative team. This guy is an executive in this company. Whether people want to say it or not, people will go to that comparison of Jeff Jarrett. I wonder how people would felt if Kenny was the first guy to become the AEW champion. They put little. I don't know. I wouldn't say an asterisk because that's a little too harsh in my point of view. But when the fact you're an executive vice president in a company. You can't remove that label if you're gonna make yourself as a champion. Now, if it's the best thing for the show, of course, that's completely understandable. I just don't want any TNA vibes that comes from AEW. That's my biggest thing. And I think a lot of times in mistakes for our companies that start from the ground up and they want to be competition for WWE, they worry too much about what we can do to be different from WWE instead of building their own identity. Mm-hmm. I think there's a difference there.
Sure.
And I think, I'm happy for Luke Harper. Awesome. I like Brody Lee, great wrestler. But what impact are you having on AEW when you're giving your former boss more publicity every time you mock him?
I was thinking the exact same thing, because what was, he's in his introductory promo, he said, you're not the first out of date, out of touch, outdated old man who doesn't see what I'm doing. It's like, okay, obviously there's a Vince McMahon reference. And then in his match last week, he looked like he was going to give Sister Abigail to, it's like, okay, what are we doing here? And I know, Josh, you haven't been a fan of the Dark Order for, and now, and the Dark Order had something going, sort of. But now they've just been relegated to pawns for Brody Lee. We haven't seen Evil Uno. We haven't seen, now they're just referred to as this week 8 and 9.
That was funny though. I'll give them that. The fact they got numbers for the Dark Order, I thought that was very funny.
So, right. We'll see. Because I was just thinking, I was like, they could all just turn on him and kick his ass, eventually if they get sick of it. But yeah. So I don't know. This Exalted One can only go so far. Yeah,
so you mean to tell me we had all these ads from the Dark Order where you had this random guy that we never know who his name was? You know what I'm talking about? They did those little ads where they had a spokesperson doing a public service announcement or whatever. They never said who that guy was. It was just a random actor just talking to us. And then you get these ads about, are you tired of being a loser? Are you tired of being this? Blah, 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 blah. How do we go from there to Vince McMahon skits? That's the thing with AEW. I think, I know they want to market their show for the fan that's upset and angry with the WWE. I understand that. That's written all over the show. Anytime you watch an AEW tag team match, you always hear JR saying, "Oh, in AEW we care about tag team wrestling," and how many subtle shots can you really find at WWE while watching the AEW show? I want AEW to be AEW. I don't care what their feelings are about what happened in WWE. Jake Hager has not made a lick of difference since he joined AEW. No. And I want to make this clear. I enjoyed their show. I was looking back in my articles from the website. I covered every single AEW show that's been produced so far. So it's not me about defending WWE or anything like that. If there's a show that I don't like and I don't care for, I'm not going to cover it. I don't cover Ring of Honor anymore. It's a pretty simple concept.
Right.
So, it's not that I don't enjoy what they do and what they offer, the fact they are an alternative, it's the fact that you send mixed messages to your audience. You can't say to somebody that, oh, this is all elite wrestling. And then when somebody criticizes your show, you start playing the victim card because, oh, it's a new company. So it's either you're an elite company or you don't want elite standards applied to you. Because this is the company that's going to ill all the wrongs that WWE did, right? That's what AEW is supposed to be, right? So I think Tony Khan really needs to take a step back and actually think about what he wants AEW to be, as opposed to what fans like us or other podcasters want AEW to be. Because you need an identity if you're going to stay around. You know what bums me out about Lucha Underground not being around anymore? The fact they didn't have enough money to have their show on El Rey Network anymore. That was an alternative. They didn't care about what other companies did. They did their own thing. That's an alternative. The wrestling that you see in AEW, you can see in any local independent promotion or New Japan Pro Wrestling. Mm-hmm. Promos that they do, the way they shoot vignettes, you can see that in WWE, whether they want to admit that or not. There's nothing about AEW besides MJF that
love MJF. I love MJF.
That describes and showcases an element of being alternative. Right. Okay, Cody Rhodes mocking Triple H every time he does a pay-per-view entrance. Really? Well, you're sending mixed messages. Is this all elite wrestling or all alternative wrestling?
I don't know, because maybe that's just what they want. Maybe that's just the fan base they're pandering to for now. Which again, that can only take you so far, because eventually you've got to find new fans. That's why WWE has been successful for so many years, and people complain about it. But they market to kids, and guess what? Those kids become lifelong fans.
Right?
They've been fans for 60 years. If you're marketing to this alternative crowd, that's fine. But eventually, 10 years from now, what's going to happen? That fan base is going to dry up. And then what do you do?
Yeah, and here's the thing. The Inner Circle, they're not some awesome faction. I love what Chris Jericho does, but Santana and Ortiz haven't made a lick of difference. I loved LAX more than Ortiz doing the Tiger Claw thing. It looks so stupid.
I'll tell you the one, though, Sammy Guevara. He's been awesome.
He's good, yes. And by the way, I think Sammy Guevara has one of my favorite theme songs for AEW so far, from what I've heard so far. But there are good aspects to it. I like the fact that Dustin Rhodes is still wrestling. He's still putting on some good matches and stuff. I
like the pairing with him and QT Marshall. I think that's really good pairing.
Yes. The only reason I laugh about QT Marshall, he reminds me of a local Chicago Cubs beat reporter named Jesse Rogers. If you just type him up on Google, it looks exactly like QT Marshall. But again, like I was saying a couple minutes ago, I want AEW to form an identity instead of marketing their show about, the new kid on block stench is going to go away. Being a new kid in town, being the flavor of the month wrestling promotion is going to go away sooner or later. So, it's cool. You have Broken Matt Hardy there, but, TNA did the same thing where they capitalized with bringing people in that just left WWE. If the big thing to draw in ratings for AEW is to bring in WWE guys, I don't think that sends a good message. Because you got Kip Sabian there, and I call him Times New Roman font Kip Sabian, because what is super bad? We rarely hear the dude speak. The only thing interesting about him is his real life girlfriend that's standing next to him. Literally, that's it. So that's another show for another time, but you get where I'm coming from.
I mean, think how many generic professional wrestlers exist across all brands, right? So again, you talk about what are you doing to be different? Like you said, Kip Sabian, yeah, okay. And I'm sorry, I'm going to take you for this, but another one is Colt Cabana. What has Colt Cabana done since joining AEW? He's had a couple of good matches, fine, great. I thought Lance Archer did a nice job this week, so I enjoyed that. So I thought that was really cool. But yeah, no, we'll see. Le Champion continues to crack me up every week. He is the release of the hounds. That was amazing. That was great. So I love what he's doing. Jericho single-handedly has, really kept that promotion running. He's been great. I love Le Champion. The whole now with Vanguard 1 has been great. I look very much forward to that going forward. But Josh, we need to switch gears.
Okay.
We're running short on time, and we need to give our WrestleMania 36 predictions. Predictions going forward. And so what we're going to do is I'm going to give you. We're going to kind of go not necessarily in reverse order, but I'm going to give you kind of. We're just going to go from the matches, kind of going from what I think could start the show to going up through the bigger matches. And I want to start with Elias versus King Corbin. I go back and forth on this because I figured this is going to be kind of a show where we've got to cater to the more casual audience, because of just the format where we're in. So, more babyface wins and stuff like that. However, I think King Corbin has such great momentum going right now. I'm going to take King Corbin to win this match. Who do you got?
I'm going to go with King Corbin as well. By the way, I wonder why everybody was so up in arms about the attempted murder of Elias. It's pro wrestling. It's not real life. I know we're in the reality era of wrestling, but it's still pro wrestling. I mean, come on, man.
You can tell how they shot it, that they clearly put him under a mat, and then they just took out the mat, and then,
I'm going with King Corbin. Well, I think you brought up a great point about casual fans, because when the casual fans came in for that first show on Fox, if those are the same people that are going to watch WrestleMania this weekend, they'll remember King Corbin. They chant STD, blah, 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 the whole thing with the Rock. So, yeah, I'll go with King Corbin in that one.
Yep, absolutely. Okay, next up, we've got Aleister Black versus Bobby Lashley. I got Aleister Black. I don't see any reason for him not to get the win here. And I really, once we get back to fans and stuff like that, I'd love to see Aleister Black in the U.S. title picture. I hope in about 3 or 4 years he'll be WWE champion at some point, because I love Aleister Black. I think he's incredible in the ring, great look, great character. But I've got Aleister Black winning this match. Who do you have?
I got Aleister Black in this match. I want to ask you a question about this as we continue on. You think they'll roll out like the lineup for both nights?
No, I think what they'll do is they'll go through all the matches on Saturday, and then and they're going to put you've got different levels of WrestleMania match. So they're going to give us one of the major tier matches. Right. I think they're going to give us Goldberg versus Braun Strowman. I think that's going to end the Saturday show. And then, and we're going to get into that match in a little bit. And then they're going to say, well, be sure to come back tomorrow for these matches. And then they'll run down Sunday's card at the end of Saturday's show. Is how I think they're going to do it. But I think Goldberg Strowman's going to be, because you have to have 2 title matches, 1 title match each night.
As long as we don't have Jerry Lawler on commentary on either nights, I think we'll be good.
We haven't seen Lawler in the last couple weeks because of his health.
He hasn't been missed, so.
Agreed. But by the way, side note, Saxton sold the hell out of the stunner, and it was awesome. Did you see that kick in the balls? I didn't even pick up on that until I was watching Botchamania this week, and I didn't realize, Stone Cold actually kicked him in the balls before hitting him with a stunner. I was like, damn, Saxton, way to sell that. That was great. Okay, going forward, a match that I am really looking forward to. Otis versus Dolph Ziggler. I am really looking forward to this. I love what Otis has been doing recently. And what I think Dolph Ziggler is going to get the win here. But I think at the very end, we're going to see, that flashing gimmick has been, you remember that the little flashing kind of blue circle thing? It seems to only be happening during Dolph Ziggler's segment. So either one of 2 things is going to happen. Ziggler's going to get the win. Then after that, that thing's going to flash, and we're going to be a return, which I think is going to be Mustafa Ali, and that's going to set up a Mustafa Ali versus Ziggler program. Or that's going to happen during the match, and Otis is going to pick up the win that way, and then you can continue that story forward. But I've got Dolph Ziggler winning this match. Who do you have?
I have Otis winning this match. I can find a way. Probably, you have Mandy at ringside, right? And sooner or later, Ziggler acts like Dolph Ziggler. Then he gets slapped, and then Otis does. I think what was it? The compactor? Is that what his
something like that? Yeah. The caterpillar.
The caterpillar. There you go. Tucky! I love Otis. Man.
Scotty Too Hotty had the worm. So.
Mm-hmm. Otis, I gotta say this, man. Otis Dosovich is one of the best characters in wrestling these days. I know everybody pumps up Orange Cassidy, and I think he's hilarious too.
I love me some Orange Cassidy, dude. He's so great.
But Otis is fantastic, man. I love watching him.
Cool, very nice. Going forward, we have Asuka and Kairi Sane versus Nikki Cross and Alexa Bliss for the women's tag team titles. Again, I love what Asuka's doing right now, but I think this is a good time for a title change. I've got Nikki Cross and Alexa Bliss becoming the new champions. And really, I hate to say this, but it doesn't matter because unfortunately, and I hate to say this, the women's tag titles have been a flop. I mean, they really, I mean, and I hate saying that because I love the concept and I love what they've been trying to do with it. But when was the last time the women's tag team titles were relevant? When Sasha and Bayley were the champions, when they first started.
They weren't relevant, but they did main event TLC last year.
Right. But other than that, so anyways, I've got Nikki Cross and Alexa Bliss becoming the new champions. Who do you have?
They call themselves Bliss Cross Applesauce. I call them Bliss Cross Waterfalls. So that's my pick for the next match.
Yeah. Very nice. So you've got new champions?
Yes, I do. That should be a match.
Yep.
Alexa is underrated as in-ring wrestler, but
yeah, and then once they lose the titles, we can finally get. Actually, you know what I would love to see, because everybody thinks Alexa Bliss is going to turn on Nikki Cross. I want to see Nikki Cross turn on Alexa Bliss.
You never care about me,
right? Exactly. I could see that happening, and that would be
her on commentary with Michael Cole last week.
That was great. Yeah. That was awesome. That was absolutely awesome. I loved it. Okay. We have John Morrison. Let's see. We have, because I don't think The Miz is competing on the show now. Have they said what they're going to do about that, or have they?
I gotta wait for SmackDown to figure out. So that's why I just put New Day, the tag teams in there. So
yeah, because we sorry if I'm giving a spoiler away, but The Miz is not competing at WrestleMania this year. So I don't know if they're going to do a one person from each team in a triple threat ladder match or something like that. I don't know what they're going to do. But either way, I've got Miz and Morrison retaining because I love what they're doing right now. And the Miz and Morrison. Hey. Oh. Miz and Morrison. Hey. Oh, I love it. So I've got Miz and Morrison retaining here. Or whoever, or whatever they're going to do with that.
Right. I'm going to go with Miz and Morrison as well. And once things start to simmer down and we get some fans back into these shows, I think the Day of the New are actually going to turn into the dark side again.
Really? See, I don't know. We'll talk about that later, but I don't think that's a good idea because I think
it's a good idea because I think there's probably some underlying resentment with the New Day with the fact from last year they stole the show with Kofi winning the WWE title, and now this year they're back into the tag team scene. So,
okay. So, but you think they're going to stay as a group? Like you're not going to?
I think there'll be a group. I just think the group is going to turn into heels.
A heel? Okay. That's fine. Because this is just me personally, but I hope for the rest of their careers they never break up the New Day because they don't need to. Like the New Day, as the trio, they work. It's like Cena hasn't changed for 20 years. Roman Reigns hasn't changed and will never change because he doesn't need to. What they're doing individually works. What New Day has done works. So never break up that group. Let them be unless one of them has to retire. Because you can, if you need to throw one of them as a single star, you can. Look at Kofi Kingston. He was WWE champion, but they were still the New Day. So it worked, but that's just me. Okay, Street Profits versus Angel Garza and Austin Theory for the Raw tag titles. Should be a good match. No reason to take the titles off the Street Profits. I've got Street Profits winning.
I got the Street Profits. They're not going to lose to Angel Garza and Jacob Cass from WWE video games. So.
Yeah. Agreed. And by the way, I love Montez Ford is incredible in the ring.
And Bears fan, by the way. So shout out to Montez Ford.
By the way, did you see that bump he took on Raw when Rollins missed his cue? Like Dude, he sold it like I was like, oh, like when I heard him land, I was like, oh, damn.
I had to put in that Friday gif of, oh, my neck, my back.
It's a GIF, by the way. Graphics. GIF, not GIF. GIF.
I said GIF.
Yeah, I thought you said GIF.
No. That's peanut butter.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to make sure. For some reason, we'll have to go back to the tape. Okay. Okay, Sami Zayn versus Daniel Bryan for the Intercontinental Championship. Go ahead, because
this is a 50-50 split from my end.
Me too. I don't know.
I'll say this: I love the Drew Gulak, Daniel Bryan partnership thing, whatever this is going to be. So I'm going with Sami Zayn, believe it or not, to win this match, and Daniel Bryan and Drew Gulak will start going after the tag team titles, because who wouldn't want to see The Miz and Morrison against Daniel Bryan and Drew Gulak? So I'm going with Sami Zayn to retain here.
Yeah, I'm going to take Sami Zayn too, because Daniel Bryan doesn't need the championship.
No. Don't say that. People get in their feelings to say that Daniel Bryan doesn't deserve the title.
No, I think honestly, I think Daniel Bryan's wrestling career is on the downward. And no offense to Daniel Bryan, I think he's ready to be done, and he's ready to do a more part-time role, be more of a father. He's always gonna, if he wants. Because of Total Bellas and Total Divas, he is always going to have an opportunity to be on television. So he can just be a reality star and ride into the sunset.
Can you picture if he was the exalted one?
Oh, Jesus. No. Quiet, you. In fact, -1 on your performance evaluation for that there, brother Adam. Blasted you. Back on the list. All right, moving on. All right, we have the women's match. Bayley versus Sasha versus Lacey Evans versus Naomi versus Tamina. I am going to say that Bayley retains here, but there's tension between her and Sasha Banks, because that's an easy feud to get back to. I mean, Bayley and Sasha will always be linked, just like, even though Charlotte and Sasha had those great matches 2016, Charlotte is always going to be linked to Becky Lynch, just like John Cena is always going to be linked to Randy Orton. There's always just Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens. Like, there's just some pairs that no matter what will always be linked together. And Sasha and Bayley will always be linked together. So I'm going to say Bayley wins, but there's some tension with her and Sasha.
I don't know when the next WWE show is going to have fans in, so I think they probably want like a big moment during one of these nights. So I actually got Sasha Banks winning this weekend, despite her horrible, and I mean horrible theme song.
Yes, can we send that to the realm of deletion, please? It's awful. Delete. Good Lord. Yeah, it's terrible. I hate it. Like, Sasha's, I actually liked Sasha's old theme. Like, it was, I know it wasn't your favorite, but I really like Sasha's old theme. But no, her new theme is terrible. It sucks. Okay. Now we're starting to get into some more matches that I'm really intrigued about. Kevin Owens versus Seth Rollins. And I love this. Absolutely. I'm going to take Rollins to win here. And because I think we can continue with the program post WrestleMania and get into more stipulations. But I don't think this Owens-Rollins thing is done yet. But I have Seth Rollins winning this match.
More times than not, Seth Rollins wins the wars that he's usually in when it comes to his rivalries. Though he's going to take one in the chin this weekend, I'm going with Kevin Owens to defeat Seth Rollins this weekend.
Very good. Kevin Owens will get his WrestleMania moment.
Yes.
Very good. Very good. I like it. Because you can play that off, because it's like, yeah, you had your WrestleMania moment, but no one was there to see it. You can have that, and then you can continue that feud into the summer months. So I think that's a good idea. Okay. Here's another match I'm very interested in, and I think this one could steal the show. NXT Women's Championship, Charlotte Flair versus Rhea Ripley. I've got Ripley retaining here because Charlotte doesn't need the title. And this is a chance for Rhea Ripley to really go over against perhaps easily one of the top female performers in the company in Charlotte Flair. Multi-time champion, sure ballot first ballot Hall of Famer. But I've got Rhea Ripley winning here, and this is her introduction to the big stage. So I've got Rhea Ripley retaining the NXT Championship.
I kind of want Charlotte win want Charlotte to win just to see the reaction, especially Matt's reaction.
Uh-huh. Yes, for the proof that I won the debate. But go ahead.
I'm gonna go with Rhea Ripley as well. For me, I would have this be the opening match for either one of the nights. So I'm gonna go with Rhea Ripley in this one.
And I think that this could also lead to more invasion from Toni Storm, Kaylee Ray when she's ready. If they're going to do more once NXT UK can integrate with NXT again, you can easily throw those two back in this.
By the way, NXT UK, can you please start bringing Killer Kelly back to the scene, because this girl has it. She looks the part, especially waterfall wise, and just wrestling. She can do the same stuff that Becky Lynch does. So
okay,
bring Killer Kelly back to the fold.
Very nice. Okay, another women's match. Becky Lynch versus Shayna Baszler for the Raw Women's Championship. Ooh. These two women are going to beat the holy hell out of each other, and I can't wait to see it. This is tough. Because, again, we've got to cater to the more casual. Actually, because we have to cater to the more casual fan, I'm taking Shayna Baszler to win this and become the new Raw Women's Champion, because I think a lot of people are going to know her from her days in UFC. We're starting to see some UFC crossover here, and this is going to be a moment for her. Becky Lynch, you can easily throw the title back on her when you need to. So this is going to be an awesome match. I've got Shayna Baszler becoming the new Raw Women's Champion.
This match is going to be good. This is actually one of the matches I was concerned about them getting crickets treatment during the stadium portion of the show, so they won't have to worry about that. They're in an empty arena and we can hear the commentary in the background. So I think they'll benefit from that for this particular match. But I'm excited for it. I think it's going to be good. I'm going with Shayna Baszler to win. I think Ronda Rousey will put social distancing away for a particular day and come and help Shayna Baszler beat Becky Lynch. So
I love that. And then you can set that up whatever direction you want to go. If you want to say, I think this could set up Becky Lynch versus Ronda Rousey at SummerSlam.
I'm telling you, man, wherever the first Raw is, once things start simmering down, that's going to be a hot environment. Yes. So,
and actually what I hope happens, and I think WWE could do this, make the first event back together be a pay-per-view, because that could be a very special, hopefully it'll be around Money in the Bank, but if not, if they can hold it out till SummerSlam, that would be can you imagine the SummerSlam if that was the first event back? That would just be, you could do it in a venue that could seat 80,000 people and it would fill it. I think they should, because I don't know where SummerSlam is planning to be this year.
Boston.
Oh, dude.
It's in Boston.
Put it in the Garden, I guess, but or something. But
they already got it announced for the Garden.
Okay, but
by the way, that arena's a dump, but that's another story for another time.
Could they do it at move it to an outdoor arena or something where you could fit 80,000 people in there? Because that would be incredible.
Just don't do it in Foxborough. There's already enough shady stuff that goes around that area in general. In that organization, they're not gonna be relevant in the next 5 years or so. So we really don't need to bring WrestleMania there.
Okay, next thing I want to talk about are the two on location matches. Forward. So first off, we've got the Fiend Bray Wyatt versus John Cena in a Firefly Fun House match. By the way, Bray Wyatt committed murder when he killed his bunny and threw him in a blender last week, which I thought was bizarre. But I've got the Fiend winning. Cena doesn't need to win here. I got the Fiend winning in his own, because the Fiend losing here makes absolutely no sense.
We're really going to tap into the visual aspects of the WWE production team, especially with the way this thing could get shot. You're probably going to see every single color of T-shirts that John Cena wore throughout his career during this match. You know when The Rock called John Cena Fruity Pebbles. Don't be surprised if you see a Fruity Pebbles box.
Oh, nice! I like that. Yeah, cool.
So I'm very excited for this match. I think we're gonna get more details on it tonight. I think that's what I saw from the preview for SmackDown tonight. So that'll be interesting to see where this goes. But obviously, both off location matches are going to be no DQ.
Yeah. There's no rules.
All over the place. So, this is part of wrestling where we could sit back and not overthink it or try to make logic out of it. I think we try that too much sometimes. Everybody was like, "Oh my god, the House of Horrors match was so stupid." It wasn't supposed to make sense,
right?
Well, neither is the Firefly Funhouse. Let's see what happens, and I'm in agreement with you. I think the Fiend wins. By the way, it would be funny if Joshie did win and people actually did tap into, "Oh my god, he does bury people."
That would be so funny. And amazing. You know what they could do though is if they did that and he buried him and he just looks at the camera and goes, "Yeah, I bury people," and walks off. That would be like the internet would be like, "Oh, fuck you, Cena," and then all of us. It would be so split because all the internet would be saying "screw you," but everybody else would be like, "Oh, that brilliant! That was nicely done."
That'd be his heel turn.
That would be so great. Not going to happen, but God, that would be great.
Hey, how about this? The Fiend did change Seth Rollins. He did change Dan Bryan. What would that say about the Fiend that he changed John Cena even in a loss? Think about that.
That'd be cool. Fiend doesn't need to win.
He doesn't. But guess what? We're gonna get into some loopy stuff. I don't do drugs. I don't smoke. So even I'm gonna be tripped out.
Yeah, it's gonna be crazy. Okay. The other on location match, we've got The Undertaker versus AJ Styles in a Boneyard match. I got Taker winning this. No reason for that not to happen. So I've got The Undertaker winning in a Boneyard match.
Yeah, AJ Styles, you're gonna be buried alive. Yeah. I'm still like giddy over that Undertaker promo from the other day, man.
That was great. No, it was great. I love it. Okay, 3 more matches we got to go through. We're going to try to get through these because I know we're running over on time, but that's okay. Edge versus Randy Orton, last man standing match.
Oh, man.
Man, this is going to be – it is last man standing, right? Yeah. This is going to be a war, and I'm really sad that we don't get to see that. But you know what? I am sad we don't get to see this in front of people, but that's okay because you can have these two go at it again later in a Hell in a Cell match in front of people or something like that, and it's going to be awesome. But I've got Edge winning here, making his triumphant return to WWE. So I've got Edge in a feel-good moment, getting his revenge on Randy Orton.
First one at WrestleMania, no contest. I think some stunt's going to go down where both guys are laid out and they can't get up at the count of 10. To keep this going, so
yeah, that could be. That could be. I hadn't thought about that, but yeah, that's a good idea. And yeah, you can keep this feud going for as long as you want, really. And again, make this a Hell in a Cell match or something like that when there's people back. I think that could be incredible.
What about the old stipulation? 3 stages of hell. I know we want to get the John Cena right back one out of our heads, but we can revise that stipulation with Edge and Randy Orton.
Why not? If we're doing matches from the early 2000s, why not?
Well, you got to lose.
Okay, let's get into the 2 championship matches going forward. Let's start with the Universal Championship. We've got still slated Goldberg defending against Roman Reigns. I think we all know that's going to end up being Goldberg versus Braun Strowman. And I've got Braun Strowman winning, and I think it's going to be a squash. I think that this doesn't take long. Goldberg tries some offense. He can't do it. I think Braun Strowman wins the Universal Championship in less than 2 minutes. And I think this is the show. This is the match that closes Saturday's show.
Braun Strowman turns heel tonight on Roman Reigns and says that I'm not finished with you. That's how you write Roman Reigns off this scenario and off of television. Mm-hmm. That, people get excited for another Roman Reigns Braun Strowman program. And I think it's something that SmackDown can use going into the summer. So I'm agreeing with you. Braun Strowman is the reason why Roman Reigns is out of the match, and he beats Billy Goldberg in the match. So I'm agreeing with you there.
Long match, short match.
I'll say 7 minutes or so.
Okay, because unfortunately with Goldberg, and I know we try to analyze too much, but the longer a match goes for Goldberg, the worse it is for him. Yeah, he can't have long matches.
Yeah, it's like the Great Khali to a certain extent.
But. Right, exactly. That just doesn't work. And then finally, the WWE Championship match versus the most believable champion in WWE history
and draw.
Huh?
biggest believability and
draw. Absolutely. And I was going to say he's the biggest believable champion and the biggest draw in WWE, perhaps in a long time, is Brock Lesnar defending against Drew McIntyre. For a long time, I thought Drew McIntyre was going to get the win. But now that I think about it, Drew McIntyre getting the win here does not make sense. He needs to have his moment in front of a live crowd for them to go nuts. I've got Brock Lesnar winning and retaining the Universal Championship, and Drew McIntyre will get a rematch somewhere down the road in front of a live crowd and win the title there. But I've got Brock Lesnar winning, and I think this closes WrestleMania.
I think this match will go around 10 minutes or so, or 15. I don't expect this to be long, like past Brock Lesnar WrestleMania title matches. For that reason, like you said, Drew McIntyre will be, sometimes with Brock Lesnar matches, you don't always have to start off the match with finishers right off the gate, but I think that's what Drew McIntyre is going to do because Paul Heyman was putting the emphasis on the Claymore kick, so I don't think it's going to be a long match, but yeah, at the end of the night, the Beast will still be your reigning, defending, undisputed WWE Heavyweight Champion of the world, Brock.
There you go. There you go. You can't do that thing without giving the Brock Lesnar. And I'm not even going to try to do it justice because I can't. And that is a wrap on episode 199 of the Hoots Podcast. It has been an honor being your guest host, the one, the only Brother Carter. Thank you, Josh, for this opportunity. It was great to talk to you. Be sure to come back. By the way, Josh, where can everybody find you on the social media sites?
I am on Twitter at the Hoots Podcast, Instagram, Joshie Lopez 94, and at like what Brother Carter mentioned earlier, Josh Lopez Music. If you want to see me play some covers and stuff, and always open to suggestions. And make sure you check out ProWrestlingTranscriptions.com. And Brother Carter, you'd like to tell the fans a little bit about something that we're doing for next week?
Yeah, absolutely. So next week is the 200th episode of the Hoots Podcast. I can't believe, Josh, that that means that almost 4 years you've been hosting this particular podcast, and I'm very excited about that. We would love to hear from you. We want to hear audio messages. We want to hear video messages. We want to hear emails. Anything about how this podcast has affected you, both positively, negatively. If you love the show, we want to hear it. If you think the show sucks, we want to hear it too. Yes. So send it to TheHootsPodcast@gmail.com is where you can send it. Again, send us audio messages. They can be YouTube links to unlisted videos or listed videos, however you want to do it. But send us your thoughts. We want to hear from you. We want to hear how this show has affected you. If you have a favorite moment from the past 4 years, we want to hear about that as well. So anything that you want to do, please be sure to send us your things. We want to hear about it, and we're going to play those next week as a part of the special 200th episode. I plan on being back for the 200th episode as a special guest, so I'm looking forward to that. Not necessarily as the host, because I'm going to let Brother Adam host his own show for the 200th one. I'll just be a guest next week, but I'm looking forward to being back for that. And it's going to be terrific, so be sure to get that in. Anything else, Josh, you want to say about the 200th episode?
Get ready for the new intro. I'm not adding promos this time, or like the DMX prayers that I had in the original intro. By the way, that's probably one of the pieces of audio that I'm most proud of because it sends a good message for what the show represents. But you're gonna get a new vibe for the new era of the Hoots Podcast, or the podcast that Hoots.
There you go.
We got a new intro song. It's badass. I don't know if I showed it to Brother Carr yet or not, but
you did. Yeah. You did.
Yeah, but you listen to it, you'll understand it fits with everything that goes on with the show. So I'm excited for you guys to listen. It's literally the first thing you'll hear on next week's episode. So I hope you guys enjoy WrestleMania.
Yes.
We're going to have a lot of fun next week, as always. And thank you, Brett Carter, for being a wonderful host. I hope my performance evaluation over the last 4 years has fit the standards. So I'll let you give the verdict.
Yeah. So you passed this time, Brother Adam. But as we go along, the standards go up because we have to continually be reinventing, and continually trying to grow and reimagine yourself. But so thank you all to the audience for listening. Remember, be the authentic product that is yourself, and continue to grow. Just know, guys, that we're going to get through this pandemic thing. Stay positive, stay inside, stay healthy, wash your hands, all that good stuff. Know that we love you guys, and we will see you next week for the 200th episode of the podcast That Hoots. I have been your host, Brother Carter. You can find me on the socials at Derek Stoughton. Again, I check out my work on WrestlingRumors.net, and I will see you guys around. Peace and blessings.